Let us do it then.
We're live. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. And if there's any ladies watching, welcome.
One of the last of our... Let me sort out my audio issues.
Welcome to the replay, if you're watching this on the replay as well.
I know on the replay. This is one of our last ever live streams. Just joking. No, of course it's not. We've got nothing else to be doing, so it definitely won't be. I mean, we've got lots of valuable dating advice to give out, so of course it will not be.
Yes, absolutely. So what have you got on for the rest of the day? We might as well talk about some nonsense while the millions are coming in.
Well, my current time in Sao Paulo, the metropolis of Sao Paulo, is 8:30 in the morning, so I'll do the standard thing, waffle about high level dating advice with you for a bit. Head to the Academia, which is the gym. They call it Academia here. And that usually gets me started for the day. I think my morning routines used to consist of rolling over, seeing what female form was lying next to me, hoping it wasn't a Mr. M's finest. And then if it wasn't a Mr. M's finest, kind of slipping one back in for old time's sake, possibly downing some, whatever drink was kind of lying. The tin was lying on the bed. Sometimes it was booze, sometimes it was caffeine, sometimes it was some sort of weird mix of vodka, possibly just scraping up some crumbs or whatever substance was left there as well and getting it inside me, either buccally in the mouth or up the hooter. And now my morning routines are very boring and considered, but I must say I'm a big fan of a solid morning routine. So the streams with you are part of that now morning routine for me. I wake up, a bit of meditation, have a monster. If there's no coffee available, sugar-free monster, of course, no sugar. Do the stream with you, and then hit the gym, and then come back, have a cold shower, and that actually sets me up quite well for the day.
Yeah. It's not a bad way to start. Have you ever picked up a drink, like picked up a can or something, and there was a cigarette that's been put into it, and then you drink it, and then you get the
I've done that in the fucking morning before, like first thing that enters your mouth, and it's like, oh god. I do wonder how it's quite interesting how the body adapts, isn't it? Because when I was you've had this as well. You've had your times, on the front lines with substances, and when you're in the mix of that stuff, you just kind of, you don't feel good necessarily, but your body just adapts, doesn't it? Whereas when you're now living clean, your body also adapts to that, and it's just. The body will just take whatever you do as routine and just accept, and then that becomes your kind of normal reality. And it's just very interesting because it doesn't discriminate between good or bad. It just plays what's in front of it, right? And it's the same with socializing and approaching. You can, we both have periods of taking time off with this, and you're just kind of content, I guess, on your own because you get used to that. And we've also had times of probably between us what we classified as wild sex addiction. And again, your body just gets used to that, doesn't it? So what am I trying to say with this? I guess what I'm trying to say is you're just, as the creator of the Dilbert comics would say, Scott Adams, we're just programmable moist robots. So try and be consciously aware of the programs you're giving to yourself. Are they actually benefiting you, or are they not? And from a dating perspective, we would say, a massively beneficial thing is learning this stuff, but also just learning to be social with people. The lost art of being social.
Yeah, indeed. Well, when I think back to times when I was using a lot of alcohol or substances, it's pretty horrible, really. A lot of the stuff that you end up doing, and it's stuff that now you think back and you're like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe, that I was doing that. But at the time,
you're not really thinking, are you? Just in the ether of the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? How it's, but the body is a remarkably recoverable thing, as is the mind. So you can trash yourself for years on end, and I'm not recommending people do so, but you could trash yourself for years on end, and then make a fresh stance and go, right, actually, no, I want to live clean now, and you can absolutely do it. If you, we both burnt the candle at both ends to a large degree, and I mean, we seem. Both of us relatively unscathed, considering, which is kind of lucky in some ways.
Yeah, until next time.
Well, we are rejoining forces in the city of sin soon, where both of us.
We should film from Cracklandia.
Yeah, in Brazil, where I need to, you sent it to me. We do need to look that up. But I was referring more to Bogota. We're actually rejoining forces there, which could be a temptation because I mean, I spent a good on and off 7 years there, but every time I've been there, I've been absolutely leathered on various
Yeah,
things. So, and
yeah.
as of you in recent times, it'll be interesting if we're both going there actually being squeaky clean and see how that plays out. I've
One day,
deliberately booked new accommodation though, fresh
right?
accommodation away from any emotional ties of previous times
Yeah,
gone by.
good idea. Good idea. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where I'm sitting right now. I've got no desire to do any of that, but you know, everything can change in a heartbeat, so you never really know, do you? But anyway, the topic today is cheating. So 10 signs that she's cheating before it actually happens. And one just came to me. I thought maybe it would be something good to cover because obviously a lot of guys worry about this. This is something we've both experienced in the past. And we can go through, we've got the carefully crafted points as always, but we can go through those. It's a bigger conversation as well, isn't it? About frame and about relationships and about what you actually want out of a relationship. Because the other thing is as well, I mean, why are you actually in that relationship in the first place? You know, a lot of the time, people just drift into a relationship. They're with this person. It then becomes you become almost addicted to the person, and then they start cheating, and you're really cut up about that. But actually, should you have even been in that relationship in the first place? I mean, that's another conversation, isn't it?
Well, I think there's a number of our clients who are desperate to get into relationships, and the irony is because they're desperate to get into relationships, they can't get into a relationship because the girl just doesn't want to. The girl just senses neediness. But the way it usually plays out, if you're not being needy, is the girl likes you. She starts trying to basically push it towards something exclusive, and then I from my own experience, and it'd be interesting to get your take on this, but I just kind of eventually kind of keel over and accept that I'm in a relationship without. That's how it's happened historically, without actually being an active participant. Just because I get ground down to be like, oh, for fuck's okay, fine.
Yeah,
but that's not really. You want to be consciously choosing this.
Yeah, no, that's really how it's gone for me because, and as time's gone on, increasingly become more avoidant. So I'm not the one who's trying to put it into the bucket of a relationship at all.
Which is good. Which in itself is good game because
Yeah.
absolutely you want the girl to be chasing you and trying to pin
Yeah.
you down. That's how the dynamic should play. So first of all, if clients are watching this going, oh, I always try and get the girl into a relationship, that's the wrong fucking dynamic. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
Let her chase you into it and then decide consciously rather than just doing what we've done historically of keeling over like a wounded deer. Oh, okay. So I know. No,
Yeah.
you know.
But that's definitely what I have done. Or more like you become the boyfriend by default, you know, because we always say, oh, at some point there's a conversation about exclusivity and stuff. But the way women play it, sometimes you don't even have to have that. They'll just, it's very assumptive. It's like, oh, we're together now. And you've not maybe had that conversation, but she just almost, after a period of time, like 6 months or whatever it is, she just assumes, and you're now the boyfriend by default. And I think
and if you're seeing her more than say 3 times a week, I think that you almost automatically become that, don't you? Because that's a significant period of time to spend with someone.
Yeah. So, and then you can get hung for the same offences as if you had the. So if you do something that she deems as cheating, or she thinks you've done something unacceptable, she'll start having a go at you, and you can sit there going, "Well, we didn't have the conversation," but it doesn't matter because it's almost by default now. It's like being a common law husband and wife, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't think that actually exists in the UK apparently, but anyway, it's the same principle. It's like after a period of time, it's like, look, all bets are off. You've effectively signed a contract whether you wanted to or not.
Yeah, you've got to be wary. You've got to be careful about this stuff. Women are very switched on, and it's hard not to think there's some sort of like. It's hard not to think sometimes they take advantage of the situation, but I don't think they're acting. It's not some evil female prerogative. It's more like just they're quite. Women are the feminine is takes its chances, right?
Yeah,
they've got to be ruthless as well because if you think about that window from 18 to 30. Where they've got to have all their fun and cash out their chips. It's like, fair enough. Men, we can string it along, a bit. Women don't have that. So it's not about being offended by how women operate. It's about seeing what they do and then deciding accordingly, how do I play this game to get what I want? Because there is often competition between what the girl wants and what the guy wants, and they don't coincide. Most men, well, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, yeah. I mean, if it's me, the competition is usually, I just want to cut. I'm not saying this is my actual life plan, but in practice, what happens is I just want to keep it stringing along for as long as possible without putting a label on it or making it into a formulated thing. And usually, usually they don't want that. Usually at some point they're like, no, where's this going? Are we serious? When are we moving to Kent? You know, when are we getting the house and the buggy? Like they want to really codify it. And I'm like, you know, let's just keep this rolling for another 4 years and we'll decide down the line. That's the tension that I've experienced for the most part.
Same with me, really. And guys have got to be aware that banging a hot girl, getting access to sex, there is a price to pay for that. And it's usually commitment, more and more commitment until it turns into a family. And that's just how evolution goes. So if you have to figure out exactly what you want. Do you want to be in a long-term gig with that woman? Do you want to have a family with her? If you don't, you can string it along for periods of time. And that's why I typically date younger women who are beneath the age of 25, because I have a way longer window to string it out. And they're not necessarily looking for something exclusive anyway at that age. So I think you're the same. I mean, the older you get, the age for the women you date stays the same, doesn't it? That mid-20s window where you've got some time for fun.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So, okay, so signs that she's cheating or potentially being cheating, going to be cheating. So, number one, sudden shift in availability. She's busy in ways that don't track with reality. You should look for pattern changes, not one-off excuses. So if she goes, oh, I've got to stay late for work today, okay, fine, that's a one-off. If it suddenly starts happening out of the blue on a continuous basis, then that might be cause for concern. And it's really the baseline versus deviation is everything. So what is you observe her normal behavior, and then suddenly this new variation on that comes into play, and it's happening a lot. That probably is a cause for suspicion, isn't it?
100%. And I think it's very intuitive, actually, if guys are actually in touch with it's, you just kind of figure out with women how you can just sense it. I don't know, maybe we're overly sensitive to it because we've been in this industry for a very long time. We've
been in the game for a long
time. We've had our run-ins, but you can just sense it when they take a little bit, that they change the rhythm of the texting if you've been seeing her for a while, or there's just something in the way she texts that gets a bit colder. And it doesn't necessarily mean she's fucking someone else. We had this with a client recently where he was like, her texting patterns change. And we knew what he meant because I'd been there, and you just sense something's different in the ether.
Yes.
Doesn't mean she's necessarily sucking someone else's dick, but she may be considering options. You may have been acting like a chump. Hartisa always used to talk about this, when you kind of the beta bait, when you've been a little bit too nice guy, she starts pulling away a bit because she's just a bit like, oh, you know. So we don't know, but it's not necessarily she's 100% guilty of any offense at that stage, but it's usually an indication, a behavior change, that something's going on. It can be something else as well. I've had it before. I was dating a girl and she actually had a loss in her family. She just didn't tell anyone about. And that's why she was acting a bit strange and distant and weird. And actually it came to pass. That was the thing she told me about a month in. And it explained a lot of her behavior because my brain automatically jumped to, oh, she's fucking someone else. As we always do with men, right? The worst case scenario, imagine straight away.
Yeah. So you never know for sure. But as we go through some of these, there are things to just look out for and maybe make a note of.
100%. And the key there is, if you do feel her pulling away, do not do what many clients and we've both done, which is then chase her and try and pin her down, because that's going to push her away further. Be a curious observer to her emotion and do the opposite of what we're naturally wanting to do, which is immediately try and secure certainty and lock her down, because that will guarantee push her away further.
At the same time, though, when that client came to us with his forebodings about the girl he was with or is with, my first reaction was, well, sometimes you've got to trust your gut. And if your gut's telling you something's off, it probably is. Now, like you said, it doesn't mean that she's actually physically cheating, but, you know, it's like, I think I don't know, would you agree with that? Do you think that it is important to look at gut feeling? Or do you think, on the other hand, some people can be quite paranoid as well, can't they?
I mean, look, has your gut feeling ever proved wrong on this stuff when you've been sober? Because I think substances, if you mix those in, they can, like booze, they can make things skewed. But sober, has your gut feeling ever been wrong on like a big thing about dating a girl?
Not really. No, I think it has.
No, nor is mine. I think there's a universal wisdom that sits there where you can just sense. You just know. The brain will so often actually try and tell you it's okay, even if on a deeper level you're like, no, something's happened here, or there's some change in procedure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So really monitor our actions, but from an intuition point of view. And look, your intuition can be skewed if you don't have much experience in the dating arena. You don't have much to rely on, so it can be harder. But if you've been around the block a few times and you've dated a few women, your intuition is usually correct. So listen to it and don't do anything necessarily, but be aware of it. And this is where the Heartese argument would come in, which the pure, the women, if they were watching, if any women were watching this, not ladyboys, women would be somewhat horrified. But it's just reality, which is, as a man, you always want to have 2 or 3 in the kitty. Women have it. Women have the plan A they're currently with. They often have the plan C, the plan D, right? B. Men, honestly, if you want to safeguard it, you should also have options lined up. And the way to do that is just be social and continue your life outside of the relationship anyway. Not necessarily cheating, but just be a man in demand, and you've got other options. It's going to keep you non-needy. And also then you can just, if you need to, you can move away from that primary relationship. It's not too much of a shell shock, is it? Because you've safeguarded the fact you're social and you've got options.
You've got a softer landing at least, which is
it's what you're an expert male monkey brancher, shall we say? Because one relationship would be done and you'd be straight into another, or at least you'd have options. And I don't see anything wrong with that personally.
Well, I've certainly done that.
Just to not hit as hard on the when you come out.
I've certainly done that in the past. Yeah, there are issues with that as well, but I guess that's more for another stream, really. Because sometimes the replacement doesn't really make up for the one that you lost or you felt that you lost.
It doesn't. But even talking to other women, I think, softens the landing. Because I think if you look at the book we often talk about, 6 Years of Challenge, he calls it affection addiction. The problem men have is they've only got one source of feminine attention, which is their girlfriend. Women have sources of feminine and male attention from everywhere, right? Their parents they speak to, their friends, men don't have that. So we place way too much pressure on the one girl, which often drives them away. And actually, if you've got some other sources, like you've got a couple of girls you talk to, you initially met in a dating context, but whatever, that fiddled out, but you still got them to just speak to, and you ask them questions, almost like this council of dear Deirdres, right? So that in itself is great because it's still feminine energy, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, so point number 2, phone behavior becomes locked down. Screen angle changes, passwords, taking calls elsewhere, less casual openness than before. So it's not that her privacy is the issue, it's that the change in behavior is. Now, actually, I mean, I've had girlfriends, I have an ex who, throughout the entire, such a stupid red flag, throughout the entire relationship would keep her phone face down on the table. And she claimed it was because of the light from the phone or something like that, although obviously the light switches off after 30 seconds anyway. The only thing I would say in her defense is when I did finally get down to checking through her phone, there wasn't really anything on there. But I don't know. It's just things like that. It's not a great sign, is it? And particularly if she starts doing it. If it was like there's been a certain, and this is like going back to the last point, there's a certain behavior, and then that behavior suddenly changes, and suddenly she's more secretive around the phone, or suddenly she's only taking calls when she's in a different room, or that kind of thing. You, again, be alert to that stuff.
Yeah. How long did it take you to Pink Panther your way into the phone finding the crown jewels? So.
I can't remember. It was a while back now. But
the thing is, it's never good, is it? Because I did this with an ex a few times where I felt her pulling away, but you feel like a weasel for going through the phone. And you don't find anything, but it doesn't humor you because you're convinced you're convinced there's something there. So then you're like, where to check next, right? And it's just a slippery slope.
There must be some secret file somewhere where she's hidden it. And also as well, what might end up happening is that you end up seeing stuff that doesn't directly incriminate her, but you didn't really want to see. Like,
almost certainly going to see that, like, because women have a fairly torrid sexual past, and I've always said that if you actually kind of, when you met a woman, just got a 30-second kind of visual on like all the sexual shit she's done, you wouldn't go near that woman, right? Because all this stuff is behind.
If you're a rich Cooper, you'd be spinning in your what cars you got? I don't know. But you'd be spinning in your car, and you'd be like, "No, I've got to go and record a video. I've got to go and record an angry bald video."
Well, I think a lot of men would be horrified because often we'll date these kind of sweet, innocent, butter wouldn't melt looking women, and they've just done horrendous things when it's just part of sexual experimentation. But as a man that doesn't likes to think you're the special dick. It's just like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
So thank God we don't get to see behind closed doors. But yeah, there's always stuff in a woman's past you're not really going to want to know or see.
Yeah.
So it's a poison chalice, should we say? I don't do that anymore, and my phone is on minimalist settings. So if you look at my phone now, you can't really even. That's what it looks like, the home screen. There's just nothing there. So no messages pop up. There's no chance of me getting caught doing anything. But because I think women as well, they pick up on you. So if you're not really protective around your phone, if you're seeing a girl, she doesn't ever think there's a problem. If you start acting weird, lo and behold, they pick up on it, and vice versa. We pick up on it. Women start acting weird.
Yeah. Well, if there's an award for getting caught the most times because of your phone, I think I would definitely be up there. I think probably.
Yeah, you've had some amazing. I mean, it's almost this kind of it seems to be the subconscious wanting you to get caught kind of routine. It seems, because some of them were so hilarious.
Possibly, but I mean, I've been in a situation where, say, there's been two women involved. Say there's been two women in the picture at the same time. I've been caught out by the first woman talking to woman two, and I've also been caught out by woman two talking to woman one, and both of them went nuts about it. So that's the level of proficiency. I don't know how I've been so stupid about it, really. I mean, I have all my notifications switched off as well. But it's just random things. Sometimes the phone wasn't switched off, so she saw something on it before it locked, or what. I don't know, just stupid different things, really.
Yeah, you're still in touch with women too, and this is about 2 years after the event now, which is impressive.
Yeah. No, she's still on board. I mean, woman.
But could you argue, the purists won't like this, but could you argue actually this kind of manufactured drama of, oh fuck, there's other women, actually keeps women hot?
Yeah, I think to an extent, but I don't know. I think, yeah, but it depends. I mean, also, I would say about woman two, she had quite strong boundaries, so she has kind of shut me down, at least as a long-term prospect. Maybe
that's exactly what you wanted, though.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I guess
you got what you wanted. Excellent game strategy, sir. You played the move 90. You played the board 90 moves ahead. Well done.
I mean, so if it's a guy, I don't know, man. It's difficult. I think, yes, in a way, it does keep them on their toes, let's say. And it probably does give a bit of a adrenaline shot to desire in the short term. But she wouldn't take me seriously now as a long-term prospect. I don't think. Unless she gets to the point where because she's not getting any younger. And if she gets to the point where she's like, I can't find anybody, I could be back on the agenda for that. But
you don't want long-term prospect status, though, do you?
Probably not with her now. No, probably not. I'm in it for a good time, not a long time.
As we all are, because it always ends badly. So don't pressure these relationships. They're not life and death.
Yeah. All right. So number 3, energy drop with you, but spikes elsewhere. So less warmth, less interest, less sort of sexual pull between the two of you. But she's 100%. Still vibrant in other areas of life. And the tagline to this is attraction doesn't die, it simply migrates. So
that's a great quote you've come up with there.
Yeah.
But it's true, it reminds me of that other quote which is a bit doomerish, which is she's not hers. It's just your turn. It's kind of like that, isn't it? It's kind of true.
Like that, yeah. People always repeat lines like that in the comments. They're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna drop this really profound gem here. These lads have never heard shit like this before.
The way to keep it fresh, though, is I think, guys, we're so pathetic because it's all very well when the attraction's going well, but as soon as we feel the girl pull away, we start becoming these needy schoolgirls. This is the test of this is what we talk about when we're talking about an emotionally unfuckwithable guy in a relationship. Daniel Craig's James Bond, right? He might be, the duck's feet are paddling ruthlessly under the surface because he's like, fuck, I might lose this woman. But outwardly, he's calm, he's considered, nothing changes. That's how you've got to act. Because if the girl is pulling away and considering other options and you actually really care about it, if you chase her or start acting needy or whiny, it's just going to drive her even faster towards the other guy. It's just how it works. You've got to. This is where the real emotional unfuckwithability aspect comes in. It's method acting, and it's worked. It does work. It can work. So, but
it's also a symptom of getting too involved. Well, it might be a symptom of getting too involved too quickly with somebody. Because, for example, like we work with a guy who has had this sort of issue come up with a girl that he's seeing
many times, right?
But when you zoom out, and obviously he was cut up about it, and he was trying to then overcompensate to sort of pull her back in, and we counseled him not to do that, etc., etc. But when you zoom out and take a look at the bigger picture, should he even be with that woman anyway? Probably not, because even he knows that it's going to be there's an end point to that relationship. She's not going to be somebody he's going to get married to, and blah blah blah, for various reasons. Right. It's going to come to an end with her anyway, and also she's just not suitable for him in any shape or form. So what tends to happen with a number of clients, and this has happened to me in the past as well, is that you get in bed, literally and figuratively, with somebody far too quickly. It becomes a relationship far too quickly. Then maybe you start becoming a bit needy because you haven't got anyone else around. And then she starts to cheat, or at least she starts to do some slightly shady things. And then you get really hurt about it. But actually, you shouldn't have even been in that situation in the first place. You know? So we kind of, a lot of this stuff, we set ourselves up for a lot of this stuff, I think.
So what's the learning point to take from that? Don't dive into stuff too quickly.
Yeah, never get into relationships. Basically, that's the subtext to all of it. No, I mean, yeah, definitely. Well, I suppose what I'm saying, look, somebody could cheat on you at any stage. This kind of behavior can happen at any stage. But it's almost doubly damning and doubly frustrating if it happens to you, and it's also somebody that you jump straight into bed with without even vetting her. And you didn't need to be in that situation in the first place. So I would always say you need to take a bit of time getting to know somebody and sort of keeping them at arm's length for a little bit before you get into a position where you're
to see what they're about. Yeah. Be a curious observer to their behavior, the good and the bad, and log it all without trying to influence it. That's a very good point. Because often, women are on best behavior when you first start seeing them, right? Yeah. Of course, they want to show you their good sides, and vice versa. Of course, we're hiding our kind of flaws as well, and that you need to spend some time with them to really get to grips with what she's like as a person.
And even then, you can't be 100% sure, but it's certainly better than, oh, I met this girl a week ago. Yeah, she's spending 4 days around my apartment now. You know, it's like that's just. And then
going in too quickly, in too quickly. So I like to fall in love with women fast. I like that connection of this fast, exciting dopamine, good sex. You know, we're enjoying each other's company, but I will still restrict my access to her. I'm not going to see her more than twice a week. To be honest, in the opening phases, even if I'm really into her, probably once a week max. Whereas we had a client in Thailand, and he just basically let the girl move in with him after 2 weeks. Yeah. She was coming around after work, her very suspicious sounding job at 3 a.m. God knows what that was as well. Just for a booty call, like 6 days a week. And it's like, bro, you've thrown your entire life out the window here. It's not alpha. She doesn't respect you. She's like, why the fuck is this guy basically just let me move in? Because you should want your own space, and you should be on your mission. That requires time on your own, figuring shit out. You can't just be doing. Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Dropping everything for some pretty girl who happens.
Basically, it comes down. Most of the stuff comes down to basically most guys have 0 options. Therefore, one girl shows interest who they may or may not be that into, and they just basically stack their entire lives off to allow this woman to just be a part of it. And it's just from the girl's perspective, she's like, "What the fuck is this?" She wants to feel like she's earned a space in your life, and she's not the main focal point.
And ironically,
most men are so starved of sex, they make her the main focal point.
Yeah, and ironically, in those conditions, she's more likely to cheat, or she's more likely to be looking around elsewhere. Whereas if she's been chasing you for 2 years to try and knock you down, and then finally you grudgingly say, "Oh, all right, okay, we're in a relationship."
Yeah, because think of investment levels. It's all about investment levels, isn't it? That's why pimps have this crazy hold on women, because what they do, they put her to work. That she's so invested because she's doing all this stuff for the guy, right? And it's kind of guys who understand relationship dynamics are not pimps, but they understand, right, investment is key. What's the girl actually brings to the table here? What's she having to do? Because the more she does, the more invested she is.
Yes, exactly. Right, next point. Increase in social life without you. More girls' nights out, more events. Less inclusion for you. Expansion of her world that doesn't involve you, right? Replacement, it requires opportunity. So, I mean, and this gets to the heart of one of these manosphere things that gets thrown around a lot, doesn't it? Oh, I would never let my girl go to the club, you know, and all of that stuff. And we've sort of touched on this before, haven't we? But I suppose the underlying thing here is if the behavior changes, if at the beginning she's happy to sit on the sofa and watch Countdown with you, several times a week, and then all of a sudden there's all these girls' nights or there's all these office parties or office nights out and stuff, you've got to sort of look at that a little bit. I think most guys would feel a bit probably on edge about that kind of thing happening, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I guess. So you're dating a girl and she suddenly starts going to the club, or she's always been a clubber girl and she continues going to the club as you're dating her?
Well, I would say more the second one, really, because say she's not an avid club goer, but all of a sudden more of these like girls' nights out start popping up, more of these like, oh, there's a leaving do for so-and-so from work, more of these things start coming up. Then it starts to look a little bit sus, doesn't it?
She's putting herself in environments where she can meet men. I mean, it's again, the on and ex-girlfriend, on and off girlfriend. I was on and off for 7 years. It was a great training ground actually, because I saw every spectrum of like nonsense between both of us. And yeah, suddenly girls' holidays were starting to pop on the radar, and you're like, okay, she's going to a Greek island. She's definitely getting her tits out, probably getting made airtight by 5 black dudes, probably relationship over. But knowing, in hindsight, yeah, these are red flags. If she's putting herself in environments increasingly where, again, behavior change, where there's alcohol and where men are, yeah, she's assessing other options.
At least assessing them, and that's the other thing, because even if she's not actually physically cheating, this is also about looking for signs that it might happen. And if she's putting herself into environments where that is possible or likely to happen, that's not a great sign. I think in regard to the first girl that you mentioned, who is the avid club goer, and she was when you first got together with her, I personally would not get into something serious with that girl. Not because I disapprove or I don't think women should go out or any of that stuff. Just that for me now, my lifestyle, it just wouldn't be compatible. And I wouldn't want to be in that situation of sitting around on the couch worrying about, oh, where's Janine? She's at the club again wearing that tiny dress. I just wouldn't want to put myself in that situation. So for me, it would be a pass at the beginning, before it even started. But for other guys, maybe not, because they're so in this state of craving affection, craving sex and everything, that they would let that pass. And then they wonder why, or they go, oh God, I can't believe she's going out all the time. It's making me feel so shit. It's like, well, you willingly put yourself in that situation. So I think you've also got to, this is again why you've got to get to know the person a bit before you put yourself into a vulnerable relationship type situation with her.
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah. Well, I mean, even if she was the girl A and avid club goer and she met you, if she's really into you, you'll probably see a behavior change the other way, which is she stops going to the clubs because she actually wants to spend time with you. Because women, when they are infatuated with a guy, and I've experienced this, I've seen it in clients, whatever, they do actually change their behavior pretty much to try and spend as much time with you as possible. And they really do take in a lot of the time. If they're quite feminine women, you're what you want. So if the girl's really into it and you say, right, I would never say this either, but if you were to crack the whip and go, right, you're not going out anymore, if she's really, really into you, often they do actually go along with that narrative. Or they're just like, do you want me to still go to the clubs? And you're like, nah, not really. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
So they're really in your spell. And that's really how to tell if a woman, they're either in your spell, I think, if you're doing relationships and situationships properly, or they're not. And when they're in your spell, they pretty much just do what you want, like within reason. I've found anyway.
But even Andrew Tate, the king of online misogyny, allegedly said on a stream once, said, look, I don't tell women what to do. I just observe their behavior.
Yeah.
So even he is not yelling at women going, don't go to the club, even he's not doing that. He's letting them do what the hell they want. It's just whether they continue to get access to him then after that behavior. That's
a way smarter way of doing it. Like, just be the curious observer than try and change a woman's behavior. Because then why would you want to be with a girl where she's got all these bad patterns and habits, and you've got to, just because she's touched your dick once, you're trying to mold her, change her entire thing of like years on end, just for access to fucking her. It's not worth it. Yeah. Find a girl who matches and mirrors what you're actually looking for, right? That's it, really. It's way easier that way, isn't it?
Yes, somebody's just pointed out there was no mention of good-looking loser in the last stream. Huge congrats.
Sutats.
Well, as good-looking loser would say, just look good and have a
talk to girls.
Talk to girls and have a closer mentality.
Yeah,
that's
and
it,
actually,
really.
There's not much wrong with that.
Indeed. Right. What's the next point? Right. Defensive or accusatory behavior. Random accusations towards you. Irritability, reframing history, picking fights. This is a preemptive justification mechanism. So this is the projection thing, isn't it? Where suddenly, out of the blue, she's accusing you of cheating, or she's accusing you of doing dodgy stuff. And then you've got to look at where those accusations are coming from. Like, why is she bringing that stuff up now?
I mean, definitely have that.
In our case, the waters are muddy because in our case, we probably were doing dodgy stuff. But still, she shouldn't be accusing us because we hid it really well.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been in that position where I'm like, out of nowhere, the woman starts kicking off, and it's the absolute projection. Absolute, yeah, 100%. I'd agree with that. It's definitely. It doesn't always mean she's cheating if she accuses you of cheating, but it's, in my experience, yeah, it's suspect. And again, you just sense it. You just sense it.
Yeah, so one to look out for anyway. Again, none of these things are definitive. It's not like she's done one of these things. It's like, oh right, she's for the streets or whatever they used to say. It's but as a pattern, some of these things you need to look out for. All right.
I mean, maybe this is why a lot of guys, going off a tangent here, but I've experienced this multiple times in Colombia, especially, where I've ended up banging the guy's wife, you know, long-term partner. And I'm not saying I'd be into that, watching the girl I'm actually really into getting banged, but this is an attempt at a different form of relationship stuff rather than the old school, you know, you bounce me for life, you know, we can never touch anyone else. It's the guy being like, well, if the girl's horny and hot and we both get to fuck around, who the fuck gives a shit? Because then there's no actual issue with the cheating side, unless she's calling emotionally for the guy. And I'm not into the idea of, I've never had it. I'm not into the idea of some dude wrecking the girl I'm with, but I do see there's so much. I've spent so much time in my own life, like checking, you know, wondering, is this girl cheating and all this stuff? And it's just like, well, as I get older and just give less of a fucks about everything, is it? And I'm not saying people are going to cut this and misquote it. The millions around the world, of course. But is it? I mean, I'm not as horrified by the idea of it anymore. Now, I would never sit and watch the girl get banged. But if she was like, if I really vibed with her and we knew on an emotional level we were connected, is it the worst thing in the world to just fucking whatever she does behind closed doors? I don't give a shit. I'm traveling. I'm doing the same thing.
Well, yeah, but that's the key point, because so when you think about, there's a difference between this is my girlfriend and we're in a super monogamous relationship, or we're kind of living together, or we spend 4 nights a week together. There's that. And then there's this much more casual model where it's like, oh yeah, I see her every, you know, when I'm
Which
in the
seems
city,
to be, but that seems to be very much the modern, almost a modern phenomenon, doesn't it? Or at least I'm experiencing that kind of vibe a lot when I travel and meet people.
Yeah, and that really, I mean, okay, I was with a long-term girlfriend previously, but that, in a way, over the last few years, that's been my model for the most part. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of seeing her. Like, we don't even live in the same country. Maybe I'm going over to visit her regularly, or maybe she's coming to see me, or whatever. But more commonly, like, if I know some women in Bogota, maybe I'll meet up with them when I'm there, whatever. You know, it's all very, very casual. Now, what they're doing in between, I don't know, and I don't care, because I'm not emotionally invested with these women. So it's not like, that's not a cope on my behalf. It's not like I'm trying to act tough about it. It's just I literally don't care, because I don't have that same sort of relationship to them. Like, we have a relationship where we get on really well, we vibe, and we have a good time when we're together, but it's not so important what's happening in between. But I think you've got to almost categorize it differently in your head, haven't you? Where it's like, this one is a serious. So with my ex, for example, if I'd have caught her out in doing something like that, that would obviously have been very unpleasant for me, because there's much more invested in that. Whereas if it's just sort of, I don't know, what's the classic?
Would you have cared more about the principle though, or about the fact she actually just fucked someone randomly on holiday? Would you have given that much of a shit in your heart of hearts, or would it have been more about the principle?
Well, what's the principle? You shouldn't fuck.
The principle is, how dare she? We've known each other, you know, we know each other intimately, but you don't actually, in reality, like, I'm just too. I just don't. Not too old for this, but I just don't give that much of a fuck anymore. That's almost the level I'm seeing now because I've seen girls for long periods of time, and I'm like, unless she was really rubbing it in my face, or I was having to watch her get fucked, do I really give a fuck anymore? Maybe I'm just becoming a bit of a libertarian as I get older.
Well, no,
I don't know.
I just, if I'm being completely honest, I think I would have cared quite a lot in the case of a specific ex, right? Because we've had this. I don't know, man. It's just a different state of mind. Whereas if it's some girl I see every couple of months and she lives somewhere else and whatever, it just hasn't got the same impact on me. Do you know what I mean?
So it's about emotional closeness that determines whether basically you give a fuck. Yeah.
Yeah. And you could say, and maybe that's illogical. Maybe that probably is illogical because you could say, well, if it doesn't matter for Janine over here, then why does it matter for her, right? But that's just has just been how I'm wired. Now,
that's how men are wired. I think we're quite possessive. I think the masculine is quite possessive. Feminine is a bit more free flowing and giving less of a fuck in that sense.
But I'm where I'm not really possessive is so much what she's done before we met.
Right.
And I know guys are always like, oh, body count, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, obviously to some extent, that's a concern. But again, it's like, I wouldn't, regardless of if it was going to be casual or not, I probably wouldn't want to go with somebody who's had hundreds and hundreds of, previous guys. But beyond that, it doesn't matter to me that much as things that have happened before we've met. But we have worked with a guy who it does seem to matter to. Like, he'll find out stuff about before they met, and then he'll be like, oh, I can't believe she did this, or apparently she went on this trip and this thing happened. It's making me feel bad. And I think that's taking it too far. Because the way I tend to operate is I meet them, it's very casual. I don't even really have to make the effort, but if I am making an effort, it's like I'm keeping it slightly at arm's length. I'm not getting too enmeshed with them emotionally. And I'm very able then to separate that. Like, I don't really get so jealous about those women. So it just depends.
That being said, if the one you've seen on and off for a long time, one of the Magdas in Warsaw, if it turned out she previously fucked 300 dudes, you would suddenly recoil. So it's within reason of that she's done sexually. But if she's hit any man, I think, where they find out a girl they're intimately involved with has fucked 100 dudes previously, you're thinking fuck. And it's probably an evolutionary thing because it what's the bigger predictor of future behavior? Past behavior. So you're probably thinking, oh fuck, she's going to do it again, or she may have been fucking when so I don't know. I agree with the past thing within reason, but not if it's a really torrid past, right?
Yeah.
So my ex I was dating for a long time, went through 1 year before we hooked up, or when we started hooking up. She slept with 16 men. She was 20. She went through 1 year when she slept with 14 and seemingly got it out of her system. So I didn't hold that against her, right? But if she'd say fucked 100 before, I'd have been like, fuck this, And this is the hard thing with guys because it's very hard to find out a woman's sexual past. And the only way of doing it really is just seeing how she behaves around male attention, male validation. The 4 quadrants women always fall into, well, the 2 crossovers are self-esteem and drama. So if the girl you want the girl ideal relationship-wise to be high self-esteem, so she doesn't need much external validation, right, from men, and low drama. She doesn't thrive on chaos drama. If she is high self-esteem and low self-esteem and high drama, then you're in for a torrid ride because she's more likely to cheat on you and she's dramatic and she likes causing problems. So screen for personality traits. But it's fascinating. A lot of guys will probably be horrified because the old red pill, Tomasi worshipping altar of Tomasi would have been horrified at what I'm saying now. But I think as you get older and you date a lot and you fuck around a lot, you're not necessarily okay with a girl you're with just getting porked. But you're more open to seeing things. Like I used to completely shut down the idea of, okay, I'm going to watch, and I still wouldn't do it. I wouldn't want a girl I was seeing to be banged by a random dude, the please bang my wife thing. But I can understand people's perspectives now because the old school model of, right, let's just pretend we're never going to fuck anyone else in a very sexually liberal world. I don't think that necessarily works anymore. But I think there's a lot of flaws with that model.
No, I agree. But to me, there's still a qualitative difference between this is my girlfriend, we're in a monogamous relationship, and then her potentially breaching that trust.
Yes, because it's an agreement. So it's not even about her fucking another dude. She's breached the agreed terms, which you have. Yeah.
Whereas what we're talking about is more, you're seeing someone, but it's very loose. It's very, very casual. Don't ask. don't ask questions, tell no lies type thing, which I'm sure happens with different women that I know, but it just doesn't even enter into my reality because it doesn't matter to me because we don't have that agreement. We don't have that level of thing. I think that can work really well. I think the bigger question is, so therefore, why get into a serious monogamous relationship at all when you make yourself vulnerable to this stuff? Whereas
but that's a hypothetical thought experiment. Your ex, who, you know, was obviously you broke up with her because you wanted different things at the end. But if she went, right, we don't have to do the whole moving to Kent, have kids routine. But basically, like a few times a year, I'm going to go on a girls' trip and I might fuck a dude. But I'm never going to press you for anything else. We can have the same emotional comfort, blah, blah, blah. We don't have to move to Kent, get married, have kids. And we can just keep this going indefinitely. Would you have potentially considered it?
I don't know, because here's the thing, right? My fear with that would be, okay, it's all very well to say.
Well, your fear would have been Stavros. No, Stavros is in the Greek island. Fuck,
Because if you'd have gone to the south of France and Stavros had been there on that, well, but that is the thing, isn't it? Because if Stavros had been there, it's all very well to say before the fact, yeah, I'm not going to catch feelings for these guys. It's going to be no, but it's, you know, whatever. But I would just be very fearful of, like, yes, you're saying that, but what happens when push really comes to shove? So I don't know. I don't think I would. But I prefer these things unspoken. That's the whole thing. I don't like to have this conversation. I wouldn't engage in a woman with a conversation about this. Oh yeah, you can sleep with guys, but if his penis is more than 7 inches, then that's like, I don't want to get into all of that crap with somebody. But if we're very casual, we never talk about it. She never rubs it in my face. Maybe it's happening in the background, but I'm not even seeing her properly anyway. That I just don't give a shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still think there's a difference.
So what you're saying is, if she was doing it, if you sense she was doing it behind closed doors, but you had no real proof, and the relationship continued indefinitely, like, fine, it would have been, that's better than her going, should we occasionally dabble? You would shut that down immediately. But
but if I'd have found that out, I would then still have to split up with her on principle. But I mean, this redacted protocol says here, what if she's a sugar baby and it's just business? Well, yeah, that's fine. But I wouldn't be in the relationship with her. Like, I might see her regularly. That's the key difference here, I think. Like,
I mean, I can't see any scenario now where I'd actually agree to exclusively get into a relationship with a girl. I just can't see it because I don't see. Yeah.
That's my key point, because maybe this is just because we've been burned in the past or whatever. Maybe,
but also, I think we've traveled a lot and we've seen the amount of option you have when you go to places like Eastern Europe, Latin America. You basically, if you're a reasonably well put together guy, you have unlimited sexual access. So it's like, why would I really commit to one bird? Or just find a girl who basically doesn't give a shit if I fuck around. I feel provided that emotional thing. There's many, many women I've met who that seems to be the scenario, right?
Yeah,
they don't even expect exclusivity from me.
Yeah, exactly, and that's more the headspace that I'm in about it. The question isn't, oh, what do I do if this woman cheats? The bigger question is, well, do I get into a situation in the first place where that's going to really fuck me up? You could say that's avoidance, you could say that's self-protection or whatever. I think it's sort of just realism, really. And also on top of that, what you said, which is that also, if I have, multiple options all over the planet, why would I? Then the question is, well, why would I constrain myself in that way as well?
The only way is if you were going to plan to have kids, but even then, I just don't see the issue with. I mean, if we look at someone like Tate and the Tates, not that they're necessarily role models, but I think they've both got kids.
Yeah,
I'd be very surprised if they were exclusive to the mother of their kids.
They're not, are they?
Right. So there you go. So the model can exist where you can basically fuck around, do what the fuck you want, and you're not constrained. I think if you're voluntarily stepping into a chastity cage where you're not allowed to fuck other women, I just think on a base level, do women ever really respect you for that? I don't know.
Well, I don't know, but I mean, the whole of Western civilization is kind of founded on that, isn't it? Because that is
but there's so much cheating has always been a thing, hasn't it? It's never not been a thing. And the more restricted and married people are, the more they seem to want to cheat. So who knows? It's an interesting dilemma, isn't it? This whole long-term thing. It is.
Anyway, so point number 6, sudden image upgrade or rebrand, or I guess as the kids say now, a glow up. So gym, clothes, grooming, all level up. This is hers. It's not bad in itself, but the timing matters, because you've got to ask yourself, why now and who's it for? So, yeah, I suppose if she suddenly gets a new haircut and she starts maybe going to the gym more, and I mean, these are all fairly cliche things, but I guess if it's happening, you've got to pay attention to that, haven't you? because you're like, all right, well, is this for me? Is she just turning over a new leaf and kind of doing herself up a bit? Or is this because Stavros has suddenly become the area manager and she wants to impress him at the next quarterly meeting?
Massive tell is if you're seeing a girl and she turns up kind of not frumpy, but without much effort, right? Whatever, like throwing some clothes on, come to see you, right? You snuggle up, great. But then if she's going out with for a drink with her friends or whatever, and she makes a massive effort to go out, that's usually a red flag, isn't it? It's like, why the fuck is she making way more effort for a fucking bunch of strangers she doesn't know than for me? So
yeah,
it's people get sloppy in relationships. This is the problem. But ideally, this is why you don't want to spend too much time ever with one woman, because the competition anxiety, she feels too secure. The more secure a woman is in the relationship, the less effort she makes. It's always the case. Yeah. And that's why living with a girl, we have coaches and clients in common who live with women. That's where the hardest relationships play, because you're around that person 24/7. You get there's no distance. Attraction grows.
The whole thing kind of devolves into just sitting around wearing tracksuits, eating pizza off of
watching Netflix. It's not exciting, and then that's the death knell for most the sexual side, really, because it's very hard to keep that interesting as well.
Yeah,
you need space. I'm a big believer now. If I ever get into a proper relationship again, which is a big if, I'm definitely not going to live with a woman full time. I may be there a few nights, but I'm not going to be living with her. It's not going to be a cohabiting situation.
Yes.
It's the death now.
Well, I mean, I've got to really think about how
moving to Thailand with crumpled notes.
Yeah, basically, I think it's time. I met the guy from Thailand yesterday, actually, who was measuring me up for some suits, and he was saying,
yes, our friend from the front line. Yeah.
So, all right. So, emotional detachment. You stop feeling felt. Less curiosity, less care, less engagement. Indifference is the real red flag. So this is kind of, it's just that intangible sense that something's not quite the same, isn't it?
That's a really good point, though. She stops giving a fuck, because women, when they're into you and they start dating you, they almost sometimes take on your interests, or at least show interest in your interests. When they stop asking about how's work or how's that thing or blah, 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 it's a sign she's pulling away. She's investing her time elsewhere. It's actually not that hard to tell when a girl's pulling away. If I think about it historically, you just have to really be in the moment and just have an intuition for how she's acted before and how she's now acting. It's quite easy to tell, really. I'm thinking in hindsight, when I've been dating girls and they pulled away, it is quite easy. We kind of know, and there's that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach.
But often we don't want to admit it to ourselves, and that's because then it turns into a kind of denial.
Then it's like, where do you go? Because this is also an uncomfortable thing for men. Men are terrible. Robert Glover will call it. Men are terrible enders. They're terrible ending relationships. They're terrible walking away, because ultimately most men are sitting in scarcity. So you're thinking, right, if I fuck this one off, where's my next meal coming from? So it's like, what do you do there? Do you keep the pussy on tap and slowly, disengage yourself and start looking at other options? Do you call her out with the wagging finger? It's because women, in my experience as well, maybe it's just the women I've dated, but they're never actually honest. They'll be like, no, this, and it's like, unless you've got direct evidence, because women are quite indirect, they're not necessarily going to tell you. So you've got to rely on your gut and then get in touch with us and go, Tusk and Troy, my agony aunts, and hopefully you're not on cocaine, you can actually pay attention. And we'll go, no, we're actually smoking crack, but we can pay even more attention. You've got to seek counsel from other people. I think this is where it's super important to have a good group of guys around you, or guys you can rely on, because a lot of our clients who've talked about this before, they don't have friends or close friends, and you need to be able to text a friend and be like, man, I'm a bit worried about this. What do you think? And that's the role we play, actually, in a lot of guys' lives. We are those guys. So it's super important to seek counsel from an outside source, because you're right. Sometimes you can absolutely get caught in a thought spiral and actually not seeing reality, and you've over-egged the pudding, and there's nothing wrong. But you need some reliable people to call, Ghostbusters, to be like, all right, what do you think objectively here? And we'll go. It happened with the client recently, and we went, well, actually, man, it does sound like she's pulling away. You should consider your other options, because also you didn't even fucking want to be with her in the first place. Well, so what are you up to?
Yeah.
Sometimes you need that objective insight, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, if you're worried about being whether she's cheating or not. I mean, another question is, should I even be in this damn relationship in the first place? Because that's what I was trying to say at the beginning, because that makes it almost doubly frustrating, doesn't it? You know, oh, she kind of talked me into this, so I've gone along with it to keep the peace.
And then you feel invested. Then you've somehow got yourself invested, and you're not even supposed to be with her if you zoom out the battlefield, right? And that's what this client had. And he's still now kind of keeping her around for sexual access to experiment with sexually. But he's even admitted when he leaves the country soon to start coming on boot camps again, he's going to be quite cut up. And it's like, well, that's a terrible position to be in, because you were never even that into her. So cut the thing off, you know?
Yes.
Is it about being more laissez-faire with this stuff and investing your time less fast, or is it about being more cutthroat and really just seeing bad behavior straight early on and just cutting girls out? What do you think? Or is it somewhere in the middle?
Well, I'm going to hedge my bets like we always do on this show, somewhere in the middle. But the reason I say that is because I mean, yeah, guys would say, cut it as soon as there's the slightest red flag, cut it off. You know, walk away. She's not worth your time, bro. The problem though is that if I did that, I would never have dated anybody because they've all got red flags. So no, I don't know. I mean, it's easier said than done in practice, because all of this stuff, it's small little things, isn't it? It's tiny little things which could also be misinterpreted. So if you're, say, talking about disrespect, you know, she makes one tiny comment one day, but aside from that, everything's great. Are you really going to blow the whole thing up on that?
No.
When actually,
realistically, no.
It could have just been you that misinterpreted it anyway, because maybe you were tired and caught you the wrong. So it's really, really tough. It's really hard. I think you have to look at behaviour over periods of time.
Yeah, the curious observer routine for the first few weeks or months when you're seeing someone, that's how best to play it. And don't be judgmental. Just see how she actually acts. Don't criticize her.
Yeah. I mean, there's some very obvious... I mean, we go to extremes here, can't we? If she's got like a million facial tattoos and piercings, and she's going to the club until 7 a.m. every night, and she's smoking heroin in your flat and stuff, then yeah, probably. Obviously, that's probably going to be a red flag. So I would continue seeing that. But you should probably cut it off at that point. But beyond that, there's often, because again, like we said, often women and men are going to be on their best behaviour in the first opening salvo anyway, aren't they?
Mm-hmm,
so it's going to be quite hard to tell. So you've got to rely a bit on your gut instinct, a bit on just actual observation. But you're going to have to give her a bit of time, I think, because otherwise you might make the wrong decision. Or at least, I guess, depends what you want. I mean, if you're only looking for some kind of casual, carefree life, then maybe you do cut them off quite quickly. But if you're looking to have them around for at least a period of time, you can't be just cutting everybody as soon as they put one foot out of place, because you're going to be cutting off some, I don't want to say good ones, because nobody's a good one really, but you're going to be cutting off some people that you could have had a bit more time with.
No one's a good one, did you say? Is everyone bad?
Yeah, that's a bit cynical, isn't it? I don't know.
Well, it always ends bad, but again, that should be a very freeing thing for most people. It's the kind of the cause to the keys to understanding Buddhism, right? Non-attachment, because life is suffering. It always ends, right? Whatever it is. So enjoy people for what they are, right? But try and see reality. This works well across the board, because men are often blinded by the looks. We are blinded by the fact the girl is hot and seemingly into us, and we're having good sex with her. And that often will blindside all her perceived, like, not ideal traits or behaviors she's got going on. And I think men, if we can just take a step back and just be a bit more objective, we're looking at her behavior like you're looking at a neutral person you're not fucking and you're not invested in that way, and just see what she actually like, rather than who do I want her to be. I've often fallen prey to this trap. I project onto women how I want them to be, rather than how they actually fucking are, right? And it's not about being a cynic. It's just trying to see reality objectively.
Yes, indeed. Right, number 8, logistics don't quite add up. So vague timelines, odd gaps in her schedule, slightly off explanations, plausible but inconsistent stories. Don't ignore repeated small weirdnesses. And again, it's like, if this stuff is repeated, I think that's the key thing, isn't it? You're looking for patterns. You're not looking for isolated incidents.
Patterns, yeah. Or you're not looking for isolated incidents, you're saying. It's going to be patterns of misbehavior.
Yeah, because if one day she phones up and she's like, oh, I've got to stay late at work because my boss has asked me to do this thing, well, okay.
Yeah, but
fine.
what if that was the day she fucked Stavros and it was just a one-off? Like, what are you supposed to do there? I mean,
all right, dump her immediately. I don't know. But this is the problem, because you lay yourself open when you get into a relationship. You lay yourself open to all of this stuff, and it's not always easy. Because you're right. Maybe that one day Stavros had come in to clean the windows or something, and she'd seen him with his shirt off, and she'd arranged a cheeky rendezvous with him in the disabled toilets. And you don't know. Maybe that did happen, but what are you going to do? Because you can't. Where we lay ourselves open to this stuff is when we get into a serious relationship with somebody. I guess this is now sounding very black pill, like, so don't get into serious relationships. I'm not going to say that, but you've got to be aware of the position that you're putting yourself into.
Yeah, I mean, look, women, there's two types of cheating we're already talking about. Consistent cheating, say, with one guy, and one-off flings. And I know a number of women I've either dated or, I always ask women questions when I'm in the early phase of dating, because I don't judge them at all. I have no emotional investment, and I just want to get female perspective. And there's been a number of women I've dated where I'm like, have you ever cheated? And they're like, yeah, once. And it was like one time there was an incredibly high-value guy in that environment, and they fucked him as a one-off. And I was like, did you tell your partner at the time? They're like, no, of course not. So women do cheat opportunistically. If Harry Styles' dressing room door suddenly is there, they're at a concert. That's the problem, right? And it's like, it's still as insidious as an ongoing cheating thing, but you're never going to know about it. But again, I guess what you don't know doesn't hurt you to some degree, does it?
Yes, indeed. Because if a tree falls in the woods and no one hears it, has it actually made a sound?
Well, that's the thing. And most men, they're probably not going to have the bandwidth to run a 2 or 3 relationships simultaneously right behind the woman's back. Men also cheat opportunistically. You're out with your mates in the boozer. Suddenly some girl comes onto you. You've had a bit of Colombia's finest. You're feeling confident. You sidle over with your Stella in your hand, and it's game on. And I know many guys who are married in relationships I'm mates with who have done one-off dalliances with women as well. They'll just quickly go back to the girl's house, and they'll never speak about it again. They'll never even admit it to us, but we know what's happened. And just the human condition isn't to be exclusive. That's the problem. We act on the forbidden fruit, men and women. And the reality is, I think people cheat way more than they like to admit. Not necessarily consistent cheating, but one-offs here and there.
There's a great scene in Mad Men where what's his first wife called? Betty, I think, the blonde girl. She goes to. I think she's not. I'm not sure this is quite cheating, because I think they're sort of separated at this point. But anyway, regardless, she goes to a bar on her own, and some guy's sitting next to her in the bar, and he just kind of looks at her, and she looks back at him, and then he gets up and sort of nods at her or something, and she walks out and follows him, and then they have sex in the bathroom, and it just happens like that, and then they go back and go with feedback there.
Yeah, no, I've seen that scene 100%.
Yeah,
and I think it happens a lot. I think that's
so it was interesting, just because I suppose it just illustrates the fact that women can and will sometimes just do these crazy things,
That's what baffles men so much. I think that's what horrifies men. They can be in a loving relationship with a girl, and yet the girl will occasionally, just in the spur of the moment, because she's overcome by this emotion, and just a great opportunity is never going to arise again, she'll fuck another dude. And that horrifies men. Horrifies men. But I definitely know it's happened, because I've been the guy who they fucked. And I've spoken to a lot of women I'm dating where they're being very open. There is no judgment there. And they've admitted doing the same thing. Yeah. So that horrifies men, because the horrible point from the men's point of view is they're never going to know. You really only know one branch to someone else. That's often when you find out, when she's like, right, fuck this dude, I'm upgrading. But the one-off dalliance, most men, you're never going to know about that, and that is quite horrifying in a way.
It's horrifying,
aren't you?
It's horrifying, but then on the other hand, the other argument, like you just made, is does it actually matter?
Does it matter? And that's the position I'm coming to now. Is if you can be quite laissez-faire, you're traveling around doing your thing, you meet a girl, you're very emotionally into it, but you don't ask questions that don't need to be asked. Is it the worst thing in the world if she does that occasionally? And I would say this 2026 version of Tusk would probably say, you know what, probably not. It's not that bad. The old school version of me would have been horrified, even admitting that. But we've got to be realistic about how men and women date and operate. And when you've been in a position we've been in, where you've seen a lot behind the scenes, how the how the Wizard of Oz is constructed. It's not the fantasy that men have. The reality is often a lot more murky.
Yes, it is, unfortunately. All right, number 9. The new guy, in inverted commas, appears casually. Just a friend enters the story. Frequent mentions, subtle familiarity, emotional overlap often starts here. So yeah, this is a classic, isn't it? Where she just starts, oh, there's this new guy at work. Yeah, he's really annoying. That's often the way they frame it, isn't it? It's like, oh, he's so annoying, this new dude at work and everything. And suddenly the name starts getting dropped in there a bit. That is often a bit of a dodgy sign, isn't it?
Well, what's more of a dodgy sign if they go, oh, there's this new bloke at work, Steve, he's such an arsehole. And she bothers to mention that a few times. That means she wants to fuck him. If she's like, oh, this guy's talking to me a lot. Yeah, because it's the whole thing about like men. What do we really care about? Did you fuck him? So I don't give a shit if she's coming home from work going, oh, yeah, this guy's really nice. I'm like, who's the guy she's actually slagging off with a glint in her eye? That's the guy I've got to be fucking worried about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The arsehole at work. But yeah, I mean, again, it's a tell, isn't it? It's a fascinating thing in itself. Office culture, maybe it's not as big a thing as it used to be because of COVID, remote working and all that stuff. But yeah, being around random, I've had it before. I worked in a sales job and I was around 3 or 4 girls a lot. They're in my team who they're all in relationships and I didn't find them particularly attractive. Like if I'd seen them on the street, it wouldn't have looked twice, but because I'm around them a lot and we're bantering, we're selling, we're working together. There were feelings that are developing on me to a couple of these girls and them to me, where we're just around each other a lot. So then naturally, you get this closeness to them. Yeah. And that you can see office environments are weird because you're in close proximity to women that are in relationships and things can happen there, and it's not, you wouldn't even look twice at them in the street, but they're kind of they're growers, not showers, right? And vice versa. Yeah. That's in itself a weird modern dynamic, the office working culture where you're around people a lot and then you start to, it's you know what I mean? It's an odd one, isn't it?
Yeah. So all these guys who are sitting there going, I just want to get a girlfriend. When they get on calls with us, it's like, so what's your long game for this? What do you want to achieve? I just want to get a nice girlfriend. So, okay, great. That's when your problems really fucking start. You think you've got problems now, sitting on the, the sexist side of the street, watching our streams and masturbating. But actually, when you get the girlfriend, that's when the problems really start. That's when it gets really...
It's really not, a lot of guys have this really the wrong way around. They have everything set up so that they think a girl is going to come into their life and save them from their boring ass life. And they're craving comfort. And I guarantee you get in a relationship, it's the hardest work you're ever going to do.
Yeah.
It's not, and the sex often diminishes. It's like, this should almost be an anti-relationship stream in some ways.
Well, I'm stopping short of saying that because I don't think it's my place. And also, I don't think that's necessarily the right solution. But what I am saying is that I think relationships, it's not an easy ride necessarily because all of this stuff can and will start to come into play where she starts doing things. You're like, oh, hang on a minute. That was a bit off. Is she going off me? Is she talking to somebody else? Blah, blah, blah. And all of that stuff can really wreck your head. So you've got to think seriously before certainly getting into something that's sort of serious and structured with somebody is quite a big thing to undertake, isn't it?
Most men just want affection. And I'd say from my experience, the best affection you get is when you're the new hot guy. She's started to fuck and she's infatuated with the image of who you are because she doesn't know who the fuck you are yet. And you're snuggled up on the couch after hot sex. That is a beautiful feeling, that lustful early exchanging of the relationship vibe. And actually, you can do what I do, travel around and just replicate that. It's incredibly addictive feeling. And honestly, yeah, there is a certain beauty to when you really trust someone deeply and she's snuggled up and you're watching a movie on a Sunday night. But there's so many problems that come alongside that. I think most men, they should stop the idea of relationships for now and get out there and just fuck a load of women and date a load of women and figure out what they truly want. Because also, if you do want something long-term, the way to safeguard that is build a skill set where you date a lot of women and you make loads of fucking mistakes and you learn. And then when you decide to actually pull the trigger with a girl you really are into, who's passed all your tests because she's a cool person, you know how to run the relationship rather than doing what most clients do, which is the first girl that ever shows them interest after a cold approach. They then wife up for 4 years, not literally, but metaphorically. And then that goes Pete's on because they haven't learned anything. They come back to us 4 years later going, right, let's get started again. Yeah. Right? They're too eager to jump into commitment. It's not the the correct way of doing things. You've got to learn cold approach as a skill set. You've got to learn texting as a skill set. You've got to learn seduction as a skill set, the dating process. And you've got to learn relationship management as a skill set. And the only way you could do that is being in these situations a lot. And that includes situationships and relationships. Go into loads of them and fuck them up, not on purpose, but just don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Really, that's the best advice we can give you. I don't know anyone, like the first relationship they've ever had, it's worked out, apart from my brother. He's the only person, and it's not because he's some game wizard. He's a blue pill alpha, but he's very like on his mission. He's always trying to level up, and that's kept her in the frame, right? He's the only guy I know that's in that situation. So most guys are going to fuck up most relationships, the first 5, and then you've learned all these points and what to look for, and how to manage it properly. You understand frame control, and that's how you have a successful relationship eventually.
Yes, absolutely. So let's just go through some, pattern recognition and what to actually do about it. So this is the 10th point. And then we could do some parish notices. Should we bother? I could do with a sandwich, to be honest.
Yeah, let's fuck off the parish notices today.
There's a load of people just spouting nonsense in the chat.
No, if they want to get into the parish notices today is this, which is our parish notice to you. If you want to take this shit seriously, and if anything we said to you resonated with you today, send us an email, info@jamestuss.com or troy@realshortfrancis.com, and include your WhatsApp number and join us either in Bogota mid-April for the House of Seduction in Colombia or Argentina end of April. That's it, right? Yeah. No further comment. Or May, or May. That's it. Those are your 3 options.
Yeah. Right. So number 10, pattern recognition, what to do about it. So A, don't jump at shadows. One sign is meaningless, but a cluster of behavioral shifts, you may want to pay attention to that. You're looking for patterns, not paranoia.
Sure.
B, maintain your frame. If she's your entire world, you're already in trouble. I think that speaks for itself, doesn't it? C, don't become predictable and passive. Comfort without tension kills attraction. That's one that you always talk about. You don't need chaos, but you do need edge. So join us in the edge.
Say that one again.
Comfort without tension kills attraction. You don't need chaos, but you do need edge.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to inject uncertainty. Don't text her back straight away. Be busy in your life. Actually flirt with other women. All these things are small things that completely safeguard the one girl you're actually into.
Yes. Yes. Right. Number D, choose better. Some people will cheat regardless. So early red flags matter more than later analysis. Again, I think there's a limit to how much you can really vet somebody. But if there are obvious red flags very early on, then you do want to pay attention to that.
I think you just know, man. I think you just know. Like when you've been around the block a bit, like we have, you just know what the girl is like. Like it's hard for women to hide if they're actual, like very, very promiscuous. Because they kind of just showcase it. There's this whole another adage from the red pill, the manosphere, which is women show you their red flags early. And I actually believe that. I do believe that. It's quite obvious the way they dress, the way they interact, the way their Instagram, like all of these things, they're quite easy tells.
Yes, indeed. What's the next one? Hold on a second. Again, E, don't ignore early signals. Most sudden betrayals weren't sudden. You just didn't want to see it. Mm-hmm. And then number F, letter F, if it's happening, don't panic. No begging, no emotional spirals. That just accelerates the outcome. So you've got to remain stoic.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. So just remaining like neediness and victim mindset is not attractive, even if the world is burning. Like attractive trait as a man is like, yeah, inside it's chaotic, but on the outer the way you present to women, it's like, okay, I can handle it. Disengage, take a breather, text us, message us, or message a trusted friend and get some objective feedback, because that can often be very useful. And if they're good, we will always tell the client, right, what's up? We'll say straight away, look, actually, you're probably being over paranoid here. Or actually, no, she's almost certainly fucking someone else. And we don't sugarcoat it. We're just basing it objective. A good friend, if you've got a good tribe of 2 or 3 cool guys you can rely on, they should be fucking honest with you.
Yeah.
Telling you like niceties of to not hurt your feelings in this situation is not actually being a good friend. It's being a fucking spineless wimp. Right. So you should have 2 or 3 guys you can text if the shit hits the fan with a woman. You could say, you know, Tom, objectively, do you think I should be worried here? And they'll go, yeah, man, based on what you said, probably. They shouldn't sugarcoat it for you. That's true male friendship. They're willing to offend you because they're telling you the truth, right?
Yes. Yeah, indeed. Observe before you confront. So get clarity before making a move. Emotional reactions destroy leverage. So because otherwise you can look really paranoid and needy, can't you? If you're like, oh, I saw this, or asking her. If she is doing something, she's not going to tell you. And if she isn't, she's just going to be like, oh, this guy's...
I really think asking a woman it's never going to end well, because they're very rarely going to admit, like, if they're, what are they going to say? Yeah, I am cheating with this guy at work, but we can stay together. They're not just, you have to look at patterns and behavior and go with your gut instincts and maybe ask a couple of objective opinions. They're very rarely going to admit they're cheating on you. In fact, you see all these shows where the woman's presented with all the evidence, right? The guy has actually filmed him going through the phone and all this stuff, presenting it to her, and she still denies it. So do not expect women just to be forthcoming if they're cheating.
Yeah.
They're not going to.
Indeed. So H, be willing to walk. If leaving is an option, you have no power. This is the most uncomfortable truth that most guys ignore. So the only leverage you've really got at the end of the day
walk away.
Is to walk away. That's it. There's nothing else.
And so actually, on the aptly named 16 Commandments of Poon by Chateau Heartise, which are actually 16 really good rules. Number 16, be willing to walk away. Always be willing to walk away, because that's your ultimate trump card. Just withdraw your investment. And again, if you've cultivated being an attractive man, which you talk about, building yourself up as this playable character across the board, maxing out your attractiveness as a man, and you're able to go out, social freedom, flirt with the world, you've got options. Ultimately, we can always walk away, because there is another girl around the corner. So this is really important. If you want to get into another paradox of the universe, if you want to get into a really secure, attached relationship, become as attractive as possible, and cultivate as many potential options outside of it as possible, because she's going to sense you always are a man with options, and that's going to keep her in the relationship behaving. All right.
Indeed. And then it's I. Don't try to win her back through submission. Compliance doesn't rebuild attraction. Strength, distance, and self-respect might. So again, this is what we were trying to tell our client, wasn't it? Where basically the no contact rule, right?
Yeah.
Going off grid, doing your own thing.
You can't fuck it up. You can't fuck it up if you just don't contact her.
It's not guaranteed that it's going to bring her back, because there's nothing guaranteed at this point. But what's not going to bring her back is you phoning up every day and trying to wheedle your way back in there with apologies, or just, I don't know, whatever you're going to try and do. That's not going to work. So it's better to go off and just do your own thing and withdraw from the situation.
I couldn't agree more, sir.
Well, that's it, really. People in the chat. This guy, I can't pronounce his name. Why can't you just read my comment? Everyone's getting angry, lads. And
we're especially not reading your comment, because we told you on a different stream. We answered 5 of your comments, so I told you to send us an email and get in touch if you're serious, and you didn't. So no.
Oh, is it the same guy?
Yeah.
Is it the same guy?
I recognise his username. So no. We've humoured this guy before, and again, we're happy to answer your question here and there. But what we're not doing is just some performance stand-up where we have to answer all your questions, and you have any weight of influence. Right. Data.
Also, I'm checking back in the chat, and he hasn't actually asked a question. He's made some statements about spirituality being really important, but he hasn't actually.
Anyway, look, sir, no offense, but if you're actually serious, you want to ask us some questions, that's fine. But the way we do this, if you have multiple questions you actually want to know and pick our brains on, you work on our terms, which is send us an email, info@jamestuss.com or troy@realtroyflorence.com, and include your WhatsApp number, and we can speak on that. We'll make a group, and you can ask us a couple of questions, no problem. But we're not going to be held to ransom on our own live stream. You must answer. No, that's not how it works. Anyway,
and on that note, we'll call it a day. We'll see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.
Take care.